On today's Minute of the Apes, I definitely needed a call back to minute 33 when Thade says, "Is there a soul inside of you?"
Divine bomb. There is fire, there is smoke.
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, the daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies, 1 minute at a time. And come here, Richard. I'm going to open your mouth. Is there a soul inside of you?
Soul inside you? No.
How are you this morning, Richard?
I'm lovely. I'm grand.
Grand. Does that, Sean? You are first. I see that according to your hat. Are you grand also?
I'm second to none.
I like
There you
it. That may even be the name of the episode because Sean, you were just radiant this morning.
I'm pregnant. Don't tell anybody.
Really?
I'm glowing.
Who's the father?
I'm having a burrito baby.
Oh, goodness. You and that praying mantis that you made to watch that video of.
I'm going to have nightmares about that later.
am too.
All right, we don't want to waste anything because we want to get through this week.
Yes.
I think we want to get through this movie. I
Yes.
need to say it. But minute 97, Sean, tell us what's going on.
All right, we start minute 97 with Thade yeeting a fool and ends with a strange light in the sky.
He does what to a fool?
Yeet.
Yeet.
Y-E-E-T. Yeet.
I'd never heard that word before. Look at that. I learned something new today. I like that. So let's learn more from minute 97.
Yeet is a slang word that functions broadly with the meaning to throw, but is especially used to emphasize forcefulness and a lack of concern for the thing being thrown. You don't yeet something if you're worried it might break.
Damn. There you go, people. You learned something off this podcast. Minute 97, Planet of the Apes.
As of minute 97, we have an Oberon's worth of apes and humans, 2 displaced pods worth of humans and apes, so many wild humans in Ape City minus 2 gorillas, and humans on the loose, and the final assault has begun!
Thade begins yeeting people around, walks in, and does what can only be said as a stupid battle move by taking off the thing that protects his head. I do believe when we fight, the things we must protect first and foremost would probably be our head
Chest.
and our chest. Your balls and whatnot come second to that, even though that does hurt. But those things got to be working for you even to move ahead. So he takes it off to become a weapon.
Well, but I mean, this is very much your hero has to take their mask off.
Yeah, the movie trope of you always
Yeah,
gotta
you're
take
right.
off. The actor doesn't want to have to wear the helmet for the rest of the movie.
So he then, we basically have the showdown that he sees Leo. He starts moving across him, and to Sean's point, nobody attacks him. He keeps going until at about 19 seconds, and anybody that's a fan of musicals will understand why I say one of the apostles from Jesus Christ Superstar that should be singing, "What's the buzz? Tell me what's happening," jumps in front of him. Thade knocks him out of the way casually before we begin the fight between the two. Thade grabs Leo by the throat. We then, for whatever reason, flop screen direction, and I don't understand it because we simply have Thade on camera left, working right toward the center of the screen, and suddenly he's on camera right. We once again change direction, and it makes zero sense. He pounds Leo. Leo goes down. He then throws Leo through the air. Leo goes down with a thud, laying in front of the engines of the Oberon, which are not freshly charred. Nothing, no flame marks on this or anything. Then Thade comes in, and to your point, I thought the same thing, Richard. He then goes to Leo's face. He has a thing about faces, and he should have opened. There is no soul. There should be something.
He should. There was.
I still don't see a soul.
It was an
Let me look
easy. It was
deeper.
obvious. He's already pulling his mouth apart.
It's a softball there for you to knock it out.
Oh my goodness.
So a sonic boom. Suddenly, Ari's awake. These two, Estella and Ari are off to the side, looking at each other's hands, hanging out, loving each other. No one's been battling or fighting with them. The sonic boom occurs, and everybody looks up because what could be coming down from the sky but Jeebus himself, as we see a star twinkling and something's coming down. Thade even looks, and that's where we leave the moment. So this moment is all about the battle between Thade and Leo, is it not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Is it exciting?
no, because it's not a battle. Because I don't understand. Thade can throw people across the battlefield. He's so strong. He can take a punch and shake it off. Davidson is walking around, knocking people down left and right with his battle stick, clubbing people. But then he comes up to Thade and can't do anything to him. He knocks him once, and again, Thade is unstoppable. This Terminator that you punch him and he can toss you across the battlefield again.
It's
Why did
how
he
many
get-
times do we see a hero and the villain battling, and the hero does feel overmatched, but they still can fight back, and it literally is that he loses all of his
Yeah,
abilities.
because he's beating up Apes on his way to Thade, but then he loses his ability to fight when he gets to Thade.
You know, first off, that looks like a gaffy stick that Mark's using. I every time I see this,
But look how weakly he hits them, and they just fall like
I mean, this is where we go when we look up on IMDb who the choreographer was of these fight sequences, because they did a really bad job. I mean, the point where Thade does his hand over his up above and then just merely smacks
yeah,
Leo
that
to
guy.
the ground with
Yeah.
his hand. It looks like a wrestling move. It doesn't look like actual fighting. All this fighting is bad. We've seen Estella completely miss her target. We see the kid kind of doing the drumming thing against the boxing.
yeah, jump and
Boxing bag.
leaping
Boxing
over.
bag.
Yeah,
We see these bad leaps. We see all these people fighting around each other, and nothing connecting and nothing working. We don't see any blood. We don't see any sword work. We get nothing. It's literally just really bad fight choreography.
Well, especially where the first time it's bad is when I said I had the guy from Jesus Christ Superstar jump in and they just pops him out of the way.
Right.
I should have at least seen that guy before this, so that maybe he's battling by Leo and things are going on, so that then when I cut to a shot of him, and first off, the shot is too high, I see Thade immediately. I know he's behind him. It should be lower, and it should be, like he's out of the way, and there's Thade.
Again, I mentioned this earlier when I was talking about the actual cast themselves. We don't have any sense of the urgency that they're in because they're all shot by themselves,
Right.
with nothing at least a foot or two around them and battling happening around them in a circle. So we never really get the sense that they're actually in the battle itself unless they just kind of throw a cast person there to fight with.
The only shot that I find compelling in this is when Thade, at roughly 22 seconds, takes Leo by the throat, and it's that kind of downward. He is bending him down to beat the fuck out. However, there's an inconsistency. Not only do we flip screens directions, but at 23, there's almost no question that Leo is on his knees. It's almost like the magic, 7-foot arm. So here he is here.
Oh
And
yeah,
then
yeah. When he's pushing him
he's
down.
suddenly back up
and suddenly
again.
at 24 seconds, he's back up.
He'd have to spun him around
And if you look, you can tell that's not Marky Mark.
and stand him up.
So he does all this, and once again, we have the silent fighting in the background, that goes on.
Yeah, they can
Nobody
have
make a
their own
sound.
battle on their own.
Yeah, but you must be quiet. So he flings him. Why does he?
Why did he throw him?
Why does it? You want to kill him?
You want to kill him?
Why
Kill
do
him
you-
right in front of you.
Yeah.
Why do you throw him away?
Now he has a chance to get away from you.
Yep.
Now he has a chance to get a weapon. He has all kinds of opportunities. Fucking kill him. I would actually applaud that moment if you killed Leo. I'd be like, oh wait, hang on.
Even when the like when the battle pauses, you would think maybe one or two humans would keep the battle going, stab an ape in the back or something
Yeah.
like that to take one or two down, take advantage of it while the battle is slowing down.
So we get Leo falling to the side. Thade things are bad, and then that's when Thade comes over to him. I like him sitting on top of him. I like him grabbing his face. Why don't they say that line?
Why don't there any dialogue?
Yeah.
You
gonna
made
give me
me
that
do
soul.
this. You're the reason I can kill all humans. This is why all humans are going to die. I don't know, something. I don't know why this entire fight sequence has practically no dialogue. None. And we talked about the writer's strike, but even as a director, I would say I have to have them say something. Why is Tim Burton not jumping in saying these characters need to have some type of conversation? I don't see. I mean, this is even lazy for the director.
I mean, your job as a director is to understand at any moment what the emotion, what the thoughts are of that moment. And if you don't, then you turn to somebody else and say, okay, we need something here that evokes something. What are we trying to say? You turn to actors, cinematographers, anybody to give me something. And this is just a fight for fight's sake.
I'm trying to imagine myself on the set as the director doing all of this with no dialogue. I
Right.
cannot even imagine spending however many days it took for them to shoot these scenes that comprise 10 minutes with no dialogue other than "oh God" and "Jesus" and "come on" and "wait."
Right.
And then maybe one mighty exchange.
But we've also
Can you
got-
imagine? Wouldn't it be very obvious to you when you're there on set filming this or shooting this and on any capacity that you don't have any dialogue between
Well,
any
that
characters?
might have been because of the writer's strike too.
It could have
Yeah,
been, but at the same time, and you talk about how do you direct something? How do you know how to do those things? You watch other people. You learn from other people and you form your opinions about what works. This isn't just some intuitive nature that you go, I just know. You've developed part of the language, and he should know the language here is I need my characters to have words aren't everything, actions aren't everything. You put them together with things and they become compounding elements. There's nothing here.
I did notice your point. I hadn't thought about this fact. The fact that the jet engine had just
Glassed
been used.
the area,
Should have
yeah.
glassed the area or something.
Yeah.
Where the dirt should look a little bit different. Something
Think
a
about the
little
Mandalorian,
unusual.
and they're showing how Mandalore has
yeah.
glassed.
And I get maybe it's not much of a budget, but at least make the sand a little bit of a darker color.
Yeah.
Just something
Just char
small.
it, just anything. Char
Yeah.
it, and have a couple of dead bodies laying there that are still smoldering.
But they're already forgetting dialogue, so I'm not even sure that it would make them help them anymore.
So this all leads to the end of the moment.
Well, hang on real quick before we get to the end. The way I like Thade grabbing Davidson's face, I like
Yes.
them giving us a first-person view of that.
Yes.
But the shot is slightly off because if you notice, Thade, if the camera is Davidson's face and Thade is grabbing it, he is never looking at Davidson.
No.
The actor is looking down at where Davidson's face would really be, and then putting his hands on the camera that's slightly above where Davidson's
Yeah,
face
it's a
would be.
great idea. That idea when you
He
actually
should be
interact.
looking down the barrel of the camera, though.
Yeah, when you interact with a camera like it's
Yeah.
a person or a moment, I like the hands there. I think that's a very cool idea. I'm actually surprised you don't see that more in films. You know, let's use that. Let's put a hand in front of the camera and that kind of thing. But you're absolutely right. I didn't even think about that. His line of sight is wrong.
Is off. And in the second shot at 36 seconds, you can still see he's looking down, and then where Davidson's face would really be instead of at the camera where he should be acting.
So then it gets to the entire moment is built up for one thing and one thing only, which is we are going to have our battle. We've got all the people on the battlefield. They're all going at each other for whatever reasons we've defined that don't work. But this could not be more obvious
This
what
is
they
more
wanted.
Deus Ex Machina. We know is showing up here.
And especially when it's almost like the Star of David kind of thing with those, fractured beams of light off of it. It's like a descending star coming from the
or
hand.
whatever. Yeah.
It is so obvious who's going to come.
Yeah.
And that's all I can say to that.
But we can only speculate until tomorrow.
Let's talk about the fact that a giant flare flew across their camp just the 2 nights earlier.
the flare gun.
And all they do is just kind of look at it for a second and then just go back to their business. Why is this?
Any
Because
different?
this one had a sonic boom. This
It,
one,
it was the boom.
it wasn't just a pop. It was a boom.
It was Here Comes the Boom.
In fact, let's listen.
Tick, tick,
to
boom.
all the. There you go. Did you really just quote a musical?
Yes.
I'm
It took
very-
you a second there.
I'm very proud of
I was
you.
waiting for you to catch
I
up.
loved that movie. Okay, so here comes the sonic boom. I want to cue back, and then I want to hear the sound effects afterwards. gosh, I think I missed the sonic boom. There it is. My bad. Here comes the sonic boom. That's a big explosion. And then also the brass section goes, tells me another one. The descending French horn tells me that something's coming down. And then we hear the engines of some sort making a sound. So there are a lot of audio cues that are more dramatic.
Well, fair than just the flare.
Yeah.
But it's enough to cause them all to pause. Now, what I could have used is Tar saying it's another weapon. I could have used the apes beginning to get afraid of the ship and moving away. Just something to let me know that this is something that they're word of a more imminent weapon coming in.
To your point, I thought that the flare reaction, I think we all talked about that, was they wouldn't know what a flare was. Right. They would have been, oh my God, but this should be with the sonic boom. They should be even more freaked out. Like, oh my God, especially when you look up and it's massive.
Atar, when we saw the flare go, is CMOS, you know?
Well, no,
that would make sense for the later on this week, but this is yeah.
Well, let's
let's
get to Wednesday and find out.
All right, let's put this sonic boom to bed. We'll be back for Wednesday, and until then, everyone have a great day.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.